Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast in all of the internet. My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a very special guest returning to the show for, I don't know, the 100th time? Ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Willis has joined the show. How's it going, Jordan?
Hey, good. Glad to be back.
What is,
I lost
is this,
track. I don't know.
Time number 6, maybe? Something like that?
I honestly don't know.
Preferred guest, Jordan Willis. We'll say that.
Great. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Thank you for returning, and you are here to talk about the 3DS. You can't add funds to the 3DS eShop coming up in May, so we thought we would dedicate an entire episode about some of the best games that are locked to the 3DS systems. And Jordan, you are here to talk about that. Thank you for being here. We have a big old bucket of news this week. Splatoon 3 got a date. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 got a release date moved up. A possible GB Game Boy Advance emulator. Sonic Origin news. New games to Nintendo Switch Online. Maybe Ubisoft's for sale. That's just to name a few. And Switch Sports releases on Friday. We got a lot to talk about.
Hell yeah.
What a cool week. Before we get started, how y'all doing?
Doing pretty good. Yeah.
I'm doing really great right now. Like, I'm still wiping away tears from some of the jokes we were just making before we started recording.
Yeah. Play your cards right. Maybe you'll get some behind the scenes clips of what just transpired before the show. But yeah, I mean, I'm doing pretty good. I've fucking had a pretty interesting day today. We at my work, I work at an animation studio, and we've been working from home for the past 2 years, and we're just starting our roll back into the office. We're doing kind of flex stuff, and some people are going full time, some people are doing half and half and stuff like that. But we had our first kind of welcome back to the office party today. So it was the first time I'd seen a lot of the people I work with in person for the last few years, and it was pretty surreal and awesome. So I very much enjoyed that. And then, we've been off for 2 weeks, but lots been happening. I went to a couple concerts since I saw you people last. What else? I swam in a pool, got some exercise and sunlight. That's rare for me. So yeah, it's been a good time. What about y'all?
Pretty good. The show I work on, we're nearing the end of our season. We're about to start filming our last season. So then I get a break. And I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm going to finally play Skyward Sword. That's my goal for the break. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah. Anyway.
So how many seasons have you done in a row?
So I started in about the second half of season 1, give or take. And then we had a break for about a month. I had a break for a month and a half. Yeah. And then I came back, and we are going for about 10 months straight. Yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah. So yeah, they already renewed for season 3 next season. So hopefully I'll go back as well. So
yeah. Well, I hope you can enjoy your break.
Yeah.
Me too. Matthew?
Yeah, I'm pretty good here. I'll talk about this later after the main segment. I played Tunic this weekend and really enjoyed it. Played it all weekend, beat it, got the true ending.
Wow.
And that meta puzzle was super intense.
Yeah. That's a difficult game to beat in the weekend.
It's a great fucking game. It's really good.
Very good.
Other than that, things
So Jordan's making a face. For audio listeners,
this will
Jordan's
be a really
making a little
great
bit of a face.
discussion, actually, once we get around to it.
Yeah.
Because there's been talk about this game in the Discord. Side 1 versus side 2 over here.
Yeah.
Did you hate Tunic?
I also played Tunic this weekend. We can talk about it later.
Okay.
We'll save it for
Jordan
the games
hated
playing.
Tunic.
Sure. Yeah. We got to give the people.
I did not hate Tunic.
We got to give the people something to stick around for. You know what I mean? You can't give it all away right at the top of the show.
I fucking loved it. Stay tuned.
Patrick, how was your past 2 weeks?
It's been good. I'm trying to think in my head about what I've even done. I don't know what happened. Easter. I don't know. Things have been pretty good.
Saw my parents.
Yeah, I saw a lot of family for that, I guess. I don't know. Things are pretty good. I can't honestly, pretty uneventful, but in a good way. So yeah.
Yeah, you're doing a lot more game dev, right? I noticed on Twitch you're streaming a lot of game development.
I'm streaming a lot. It feels like that's my niche. I mean, a little bit of games and then a lot of that because it's something that I feel like it helps me to talk out loud even if nobody's there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Not everything I do though, because sometimes I'm just watching a YouTube video or something, but like that wouldn't be very exciting. But
I would watch you watch anything, Patrick.
Oh, thanks, David.
You're welcome.
But yeah, things are good. So we did a special episode last week in light of the episode releasing on 420, some of the trippiest games available on the Switch, and then previous week to that we did a Chrono Cross and sort of Chrono series episode, and we had some great discussion as always on the Discord about all those topics. Also, just some really randomly sort of nice comments from a lot of the regular Discord users after someone realized we all kind of missed the 3-year anniversary of the podcast. So thanks to everyone who chimed in on that. But specifically regarding like the 420 episode, we got a lot of great comments. Donnie listed the top 5 Mario characters on bath salts. That was really nice. And also mentioned Yoshi's Island, the Poppy level is being
touch fuzzy, get dizzy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
DCD mentioned the sort of Van Gogh based level in New Super Mario Bros. U. Steve Irwin mentioned just the weird trippy moment when Mario captures anything in Odyssey. So a lot of Mario trippy stuff. Yeah.
Sucked out of his the corporeal realm where his body resides, and then into the much more intangible realm of the mind of his captor.
Yes. And then KSP OKC mentioned Manifold Garden as another good trippy game on the Switch. Also on Facebook, Brad Hawkins started a nice thread about the biggest stoners in the Nintendo universe. I don't know if there were any that y'all particularly liked. There's several good comments on there.
List me off a couple, Patrick.
We got Olimar on here.
Huge stoner.
Yep.
God, why can't I think of the name of some of these characters? The big fish character from Zelda.
The
King Jabu Jabu or Jabu?
Or no, not Jabu Jabu. The one who goes.
Yeah, that one. Not yeah.
I don't know their name.
I think it's just King Zora. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, just the Zora. Yeah. There's a Pokemon which I don't know the name of because I don't know Pokemon's names.
Hell yeah.
And then another Zelda character that it's not Beetle, but gosh, I don't know a lot of these characters' names.
Yeah, it's okay. It was just like photos.
Yeah.
So
right?
if you want like a great visual thread, head over to our Facebook group.
Jordan, you posted one who I also don't know the name of, but
it's Andros from the original Star Fox because he just has big red eyes and he blows smoke at you. Like
polygonal smoke.
Yeah, it's like straight up. I'm like, it's more clear in my mind than ever.
Yeah, we'd love hearing from listeners and viewers. If you want to send me some pictures of some random Nintendo characters that I don't know the name of, I will attempt to describe them.
We should definitely do one of those things where it's like I showed my mom all the Smash characters and she had to come up with names for them. But with Patrick, I think that would be really funny.
Nintendo characters.
Yeah, you're like Zelda Man, a bird,
the guy with the face,
Space Monkey hands. That's Andros. Anyway.
Oh boy. Anyway, so send us a note. We also appreciate it if you would leave a review or share the podcast somewhere, and also like and subscribe on YouTube. And we're gonna do the news and rumors for the week. We got a bunch because we've been gone for 2 weeks, and it's been a busy 2 weeks.
Truly.
A lot of this is from this week. So starting off with some union news. There was a complaint filed with the National Labor Relations Board, the NLRB, by a former contract worker for Nintendo of America, who said that they had discussed union stuff in some business meetings and was later fired. Nintendo put out a statement saying that they're aware of all that, but that, that's not why they were fired. They were fired for disclosure of confidential information, yada, yada. But then since then, apparently some other contract workers have spoken up about the situation of working for Nintendo and saying that, the situation of being a contract worker there, as it goes, deeper. It's not just one sort of alleged retaliation. There's some other issues and that kind of stuff. So that's a bit of a bummer to hear, but also I don't know if it's terribly surprising. Contract work, right? Notoriously, like, you get the shaft on.
Yeah, I worked as a
benefits
contractor
and
for a
stuff.
company for several years, and it can be tough. And I think the bigger the company, the less contractors are appreciated. You know what I mean? And I think it's like kind of, they've got their whole full-time team, and then it's like your contract teams, it's like you should kind of just be thankful to even be here. You know what I mean? Which is obviously a very toxic mindset to have. And I think a lot of this just kind of goes to show it's like, yeah, we love Nintendo. We're a Nintendo podcast. We're fans of the product that they create, but they are also a big corporation, and aren't, it's not unique, that they would not have good business practices in some ways, surely. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard some stories from people who have worked at Nintendo that have had some issues, especially in the contracting side. But I mean, yeah, like I said, you hear this all the time. I think it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. This isn't the only NLRB news we have in this episode. It'll be interesting to see if anything happens from this, certainly.
Was it specifically like contractors who worked for the Joy-Con Center? Is that the only ones? That's the one I read.
I think that's a different story, actually.
I also read that one from the Joy-Con repair factory in like New Jersey or somewhere on the East Coast.
Yeah.
There's a rather meaty, lengthy Kotaku article about it that's worth a look, which I honestly haven't finished reading the entirety of because it is quite long. And then there are even some comments to it that are like, yeah, I used to work for Nintendo as yada yada and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which obviously, who knows? But like, there's a lot of quotes and interesting stuff about just the culture in general. And even some stuff about like Miyamoto and like, I don't know, like crunch time and stuff, which hopefully is better now because some of it's kind of old stuff that they're talking about. But
well, I mean, there's, if you want to talk like crunch and stuff like that, there's major cultural differences between the US and Japan when it comes to crunch. Crunch is far more accepted in Japan than it is here, and it's accepted here. You know what I mean? And so it's like, that's changing every day. And I do think that they have actually made strides in their Japan offices as well to avoid stuff like that. But this is, I mean, you're right, Patrick. This is a very ongoing story right now. And I think a lot of people are coming forward in a lot of ways. And I think it's just really good to keep track on this stuff. We've been talking about doing an episode on this sort of thing for a while, actually, and we'll probably have a full episode coming up where we delve a little bit further into this. But
yep, I mean, this is always so fascinating to me as corporations, Nintendo being one of them, and the other big companies like Google and your Metas, as they make billions of dollars in profits. They are taking advantage of workers by contracting out some of the work so they don't get benefits. So it's cheaper labor by doing sometimes the same quality of work. Yeah. And then the morale, the contractors and the actual badged folks are working side by side in the same buildings, sometimes in the same cubes. And the only difference is that maybe, I think in this article from the Joy-Con factory and also from the QA testers in Nintendo of America, is contractors have different badges and then Nintendo have like red badges. So you are classified by color of your badge, that you are a different class of worker within this company. And that presents all kind of weird situational hierarchical order in the workplace.
Psychological effects of that, of like, why am I not valued the same as this other person? Right. Like, is my work not as important? Like, it's troubling stuff. And you hate to hear it, but it's like, it's very prevalent, and especially the, art industries and tech industries.
Wonder what will happen with these companies that are usually in cities that are growing with higher inflation rate, with Seattle real estate being wild, and a lot of these articles coming out from low paid workers. What happens to these jobs?
Well, the next news item is related, and that's that the sort of ongoing union efforts at Raven Software, which by QA employees or is over. Sorry, the Activision Blizzard, who owns Raven Software, if you're not aware. There's been a sort of a dispute going on about, them trying to unionize, and the NLRB, which we are mentioning again now, has decreed that the union, can vote and go ahead and as to whether they want to form a union or not. So that's a big win for those employees.
Finally, they've been fighting for that for a while.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I think that's sometime in May that election will, those ballots will be submitted and finalized, and we'll hear back as to whether they vote to form a union or not, and then we'll see what happens after that. But
do you think they will? Because wasn't it also at Activision Blizzard they announced all the QA testers are now full-time employees,
except for these folks.
So but what if they don't vote to form the union? Do they get that deal now, or is it just
know.
I think that's the carrot dangling, right? It's kind of like the whole so kind of bait to not unionize, right? So it's like they're met with a very serious decision that they have to make at this point, right? Because it's like unions aren't just, it's not just like, great, we're in a union. Like it's the whole, you got to pay dues, it's like, it's got its own benefits and downsides, it's not just like a one and done, right? And so, I could see them making, the alternative very attractive to the point where they wouldn't take such a deal.
And in continuing the sort of dystopian opening to this show.
Well, we're going to talk about fun 3DS games eventually, guys. Don't worry.
According to Bloomberg, Ubisoft is apparently, there are some discussions about Ubisoft being acquired. We've seen lots and lots of acquisitions and, consolidation in the video game market. Activision Blizzard, for example. And so this is another giant company that might get acquired by some giant holding company or something, right? Matthew, do you have anything to add to this?
I think this doesn't mean that Ubisoft is definitely up for sale. What's happening right now is a couple private equity firms are coming into Ubisoft to analyze the business, which are typically the steps that a company makes in order to consider them that they might sell off all or some of their assets. Or their intellectual property. So it doesn't mean anything yet, but it could mean something. So it could be selling the whole company or just like maybe a division or parts of the company. You never know.
This to me kind of feels like it's very similar to the Activision Blizzard situation, right? I think both companies have been, first of all, Ubisoft has been having a bad few years, right? Like they've been dumping tons and tons of money into these games. They had a whole fucking battle royale game that no longer exists. You know what I mean? That is like no longer a game. And they put tons of money into that game. Right. And so it's like, they've been having a lot of failures recently that were very expensive, but I think also there was tons of controversy at Ubisoft, and it's like a lot of the same stuff we were talking about with Activision Blizzard earlier this year and at the end of last year has been happening at Ubisoft for a very long time. The workplace culture is very toxic in a lot of ways, and a lot of complaints have come forward. And so I think Yves Guillemot, or I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce his name, kind of the head of Ubisoft, probably saw fucking Bobby Kotick take a huge chunk of change and just was able to sell off his company and not be embroiled in all these legal battles and was just like, that sounds pretty good. Right. They could just buy me out from being a bad guy. That's kind of like, I'm getting stenches of that, with this, with these stories that I'm reading right now. So, as I understand, he would not be a part of the company anymore were it to be sold. So who do you think would buy him? Do you think this is another Microsoft acquisition if they do get sold?
I hope not, man.
Gosh, that would be scary.
how much are they
It makes
worth?
the most sense, right? I mean, it makes the most sense, like for Microsoft to grab them. That's what people have been speculating about that already for so long.
Yeah, just how much are they worth though? Like realistically, how much are the Rabbids worth?
I don't know. They're a big company. They have a lot of games. Just Dance is big. You know what I mean? You know, there's
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
those are huge franchises, and that's just 2.
So people are. I'm just a quick Google search says.
Could Microsoft even really do it with until Activision Blizzard is
Yeah, probably
locked
not,
down
right?
one
Yeah.
way or the other?
Mhm.
You know?
Roughly 10 billion is what
Okay.
what Google is saying.
It means nothing to me. Like I don't understand money past,
Yeah,
past a
that's
certain number. Like you know what I mean? Like you might as well say a jillion or something like that. A cajillion.
A Gadzukian.
Well, like realistically, I don't think could Sony afford that? I don't really think so. So Microsoft is it? Like,
Well, how much
Or
they buy
just some
Bungie
other
for?
big media company, right, or something? I don't know.
I think Bungie was like 4 billion, something around that ballpark. I
10
can't
billion isn't that much more than 4 billion.
right. It's
What
like
are
6
numbers?
more. 6 more.
It's
Just
only
add
6
6.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah. 6 units of money.
Let's say CD Projekt Red is roughly 4 to 5 billion.
That's crazy.
Wow.
They don't
Sega
even make that many games.
Sega
It's all
Sammy
Gwent.
is about 4
Yeah.
billion.
Yeah.
Capcom is
Man.
5 billion.
That's crazy that CD Projekt Red and Sega are the same. But I guess they own GOG and all that stuff. So
No,
it's
that's
like
true.
they've got their own whole storefront like
Oh,
Steam.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big thing.
Anyway.
Anyway,
What
we got
is
a lot
money?
of news, y'all. So I'm not trying to rush us.
It's okay. Yeah, we should move on.
But Bloomberg also has reported another rumor leak situation here that Sega is planning to do some quote unquote big budget reboots. And Jordan is excited, it seems like, for this. In particular, Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio are mentioned. They have a plan, something called the Super Game Initiative, that they've unveiled to I guess, you know, maybe reboot / make some new games.
We'll see.
What do we think about this? Is anybody excited about Crazy Taxi or Jet Set Radio in particular?
Yeah, what do you think, Jordan? You were vehemently
I-
nodding your head.
Dude, I really liked both of those games back in the day, and the fact that they haven't had a new one in so long, it just boggles my mind. I'm like, dude, think about what you could do with a Jet Set Radio feature now or a Crazy Taxi now. Like both of them open world games, like it would just be nuts. And
You could
Sega-
combine those games too, I think.
Don't even get my hopes up. That would be insane. I just, you know, I love to see any like old franchise kind of get brought back, especially like some beloved franchises. Because I feel like those games, Crazy Taxi a little bit less because it's like really arcadey, but both of them I feel like still hold up and they're fun to play today. So I would just love to see like a new version, you know?
Mm.
I listen up, Sega Sammy. I'm talking to you. Only make a new Crazy Taxi if you're bringing on and bringing back the Offspring, because Crazy Taxi isn't the same unless you have the Offspring.
Yeah.
And then you start. That's how you start every Crazy Taxi game. What's not to love
Yeah.
about that?
We also just got a copyright strike for me doing that.
It was a cover.
Yeah, that doesn't matter sometimes, man. I'll tell you.
Fair use, Sega Sammy. I will say, whoever.
Or Offspring.
So I'm also I also love Crazy Taxi. I also love Jet Set Radio. Right. I'm also a big fan of a lot of these Dreamcast era Sega games. I don't know. This Super Game Initiative makes me a little nervous. Right. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like metaverse to me for some reason.
You like games. You
Yeah.
want them to be super.
I don't know. It just feels like Sega's trying to like they're like trying to do something to stay relevant right now, and it just reminds me of games as a service. It reminds me of metaverse. It's like, oh, you like these old IPs, right? Well, we'll throw them into our super game or whatever, right? So stuff like that kind of gives me a little bit of pause. We don't know what it is yet. They're being very cagey about what this whole thing is. So it's, you know, I'm not going to throw judgment right now, but I'm hesitant about whatever this concept is. We'll soon see, though, I'm sure.
Well, if you want some retro Sega games to play right now on your Switch, a few new ones are added to the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. We've got 3 new Sega Genesis games. We've got. Tell me if you've ever heard or played these. Space Harrier 2.
Yeah, of course.
No, okay,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah. I'm not familiar with. I didn't have a Genesis.
You never played Space Harrier? It's a great game.
No. Shining Force 2,
Great game.
and then Sonic the Hedgehog Spinball. Sounds like we got some ringing endorsements here.
All 3 of these games are great. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
I love Sonic Spinball.
Yeah, Sonic Spinball is type. Shining Force 2, made by Camelot, who then went on to make Golden Sun and all the Mario sports games. So
There you go.
yeah, if you like Golden Sun, you'll like Shining Force 2.
I'm in.
Yeah.
It's like a tactical RPG of some kind.
Yeah, it's more just, I think, just a kind of more standard turn-based JRPG, as far as I can tell.
There you go. I'm glad to hear that. I didn't know much about those games. And then also, if you're interested in playing more retro Sonic game or Sega games, and in particular the Sonic games, the Sonic Origins, which is a sort of packaging of the early Sonic games, got a release date of June 23rd. And what is this includes what, like 1, 2, 3 and CD?
Yes, and Knuckles.
And Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah, Sonic 3 and Knuckles are like one game in this package. And then, yeah, CD 1 and 2 as well. And they're all like the widescreen ports of the game that were made for mobile by Christian Whitehead and Headcanon and all those, the kind of fans that were hired to make the mobile ports were kind of brought back for this release as well. Stealth is a big part of that as well. Yeah, so these are fully remade games, essentially. These aren't just ports of the Genesis games. So it's pretty exciting. Also, just beautiful animation in this game. I'll tell you that.
There's some new animation, right? Like some new cutscenes or cartoon stuff.
Made in-house at Powerhouse Animation.
There you go. One weird thing about this, though, is the pricing situation. So there's
can someone explain this spreadsheet?
So I will just say this, that it's digital only, and it's coming, at least for now, right? Maybe they'll put Mania, they'll put a physical one out later or something.
Yeah.
But and it's coming to a bunch of platforms, but there's sort of a standard edition as well as a digital deluxe edition, and then there is going to be some DLC. Is that correct?
Kind of, yeah. So it's basically it's really similar to what they did with Banana Mania, Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania, where it was and Sonic Colors Ultimate did this as well, where it's you've got the base version, which is $40, and then for $5 more, you get some paltry DLC, most of which you can just unlock in the game over time. Right. Same with the pre-order bonuses. A lot of the pre-order bonuses that are in there, it's you pre-order the game, you unlock the stuff right away. But if you just buy the stuff with in-game currency or whatever throughout that you unlock by playing the game, you can get it just as a normal unlock. It's a really shitty practice.
It's also confusing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And look,
there's 5. On this spreadsheet, there's all this all these rows of these different things, and then there's 5 columns.
Yeah.
And some of them I'm I don't understand what these columns represent. Yeah, it's fun pack coming soon. What the fuck is the premium fun pack? Do you have to pay for that? Doesn't
I don't
make
have
sense.
to pay for fun. What is this?
I posted in our little Discord chat here. Maybe we can pull it up. It's a fan made a much easier to understand version of this, right? Because a lot of the stuff that's included in the DLC is also included in the pre-order stuff and vice versa. So really it only needs to be 2 columns, right? But they just made it really complicated because I think they saw Ubisoft stuff. You know what I mean? It looks like a Ubisoft pre-order sheet, right? From the old days, right? And so I think they're trying to I think they're just really trying to push you towards the more expensive thing.
Right. That's
trying
what it
to get you to pre-order.
This is
and
too
it's
confusing. I'll just pay the most to get all the things.
Right. And that's why it's only $5 more. It's the whole It's like,
Might as
hey,
well.
you could get a medium drink or you could pay the 10 cents more for the large at the movie theater, right? You know, it's like that same fucking stupid practice that everybody hates and nobody likes. And so it's like definitely really bad and it's anti-consumer, right? But it's also a shame because this collection looks so good. You know, I really do think it's like, not just because my company did the animations for it, but because like this game like looks like it's got a ton of love and care put into it. And it's not just reskins of the same old games we've seen a bunch of times. It's like full remakes, you know? And so it's like, you know, it's just a shame to see it like, I don't know, parsed out like this. And I really hope Sega finally listens to some of the backlash. I don't think people really cared about Monkey Ball. I don't think people really cared about Sonic Colors, but people are mad about this one, right? So I hope this is the last they do of this because it's just pissing everybody off.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
I would rather it just be more expensive and just have all the stuff in it.
Yeah.
And it basically is. If you buy the $45 version, you'll just have everything, really. You'll just have everything. Maybe you'll be missing.
They make me feel like I'm getting ripped off.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Right. But honestly, too, you could probably just buy the $40 version and it's going to be fine.
Just as happy.
Yeah.
But how do I know?
I kind of want to do that just to send the message. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever, dude. I don't care.
But I need a spreadsheet to figure out if am I wasting my time and money? I don't get it. Help me.
I'm also really surprised, and I know we've talked about this a lot, like why this, I mean, obviously they just couldn't do it, right? Because this didn't come out 2 months earlier. Like it would have made a lot of sense for this collection to come out
with the
movie or like right now, like a week or two after the movie. Because I just went and saw that movie and I was like, you know, I'm excited to play some Sonic games, but what, you know, like I could play Mania again or something, you know, but like, ooh, yeah, revamped versions of the originals, that would be fun. I'll see how I feel in 2 months.
Yeah, I don't know if it just needed more time or if, you know, because it very well could have. Like I said, a lot of work is being put into this package, and it's like, I don't know if it's just that or if it's like they're kind of trying, you know, because we theoretically still have Frontiers coming out later this year, right? That's still slated for 2022. So it's like they might be trying to kind of spread out their Sonic content, right, and keep Sonic relevant throughout the year, which you can't blame them for that.
Makes sense. Well, speaking of the movies, we're going to go into some movie news here. First up, and perhaps most importantly, Super Mario Brothers movie. Breaking news while we were recording this just came to light that the movie is being delayed until April of 2023. So we've got about a year to wait now, as opposed to 8 months or whatever it was previously.
Bummer.
And the Nintendo of America tweet says, "This is Miyamoto. And after consulting with Chris Meledandri."
We have to assume he's talking about Meledandri-san and not Pratt-san, right?
I think it's Pratt-san.
I don't know. Like Chris Pratt was like, you know, I think we need a little more time for me to get back in that booth and re-record some of these lines.
He's like, I'm really trying to get an authentic Italian accent down, and I don't want it to be a caricature.
Listen, I'm spread too thin. I'm doing Garfield. I'm doing Mario, which is
doing Lego movies. Like I got a lot on my plate.
Jurassic World.
I think we could assume he's talking about Illumination CEO Chris Meledandri.
Yeah, he called him his partner at Illumination.
Okay, yeah. Unless Chris Pratt just took over Illumination, which there's no way of really knowing.
I just feel like anytime this movie comes up, they can't bring it up without mentioning Chris Meledandri. What is the deal? Like, is it part of their contract? Like, why does he get so much?
I think they're just like best friends, Patrick. I think
it seems
Miyamoto and Chris Meledandri are just like they've become fast BFFs, and I don't think it's your place to judge that.
It feels like Miyamoto might be a little bit obsessed with him.
He's like just writing Chris-san in his notebook a bunch of times.
My wild speculation is he's just trying to take the heat off of himself.
Ooh,
because
he's throwing Meledandri under the bus.
Dude, straight up, because Miyamoto is notorious for delaying or causing delays into games. So I think
blaming. It was him, but
he's notorious for two things: delays and smoking cigarettes.
And apparently now also like keeping people there till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
According to Kotaku. Oh boy,
we stand a Miyamoto.
And
So that's
Chris
why.
Belladondre.
The games don't lie.
It's a bit of a bummer because I was, like just the other day, my kid's like, when is the Mario movie coming out this year, right? And I'm like, yeah, this year. Well, not anymore. We got another year to wait now. But
Kids
hey,
don't understand
whatever.
the flow of
It
time.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
It won't make any difference in the long run. But so much video game movie news. We got to blaze through this, I guess. I know we're missing some. I feel like Yakuza got mentioned as well, but like Streets of Rage is potentially getting a movie. Minecraft is potentially getting a movie with Jason Momoa.
Yeah. I hear he's playing the Dynamite.
And then It Takes Two is also getting a movie.
With The Rock, right? Was that the Rock movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazon is doing that. I think that's like an official statement from that Amazon made to Variety. But I think the other ones are like Deadline has like rumor, which they're usually, they know what they're talking about. But like,
it's a good trade.
So, man, I'm sure there's more. We can't cover them all.
Well, It Takes Two is going to have the same writers as Sonic and Sonic 2 writers, Pat Casey and Josh Miller. They're adapting the game to the movie.
Out of the three, I think that's the only one in my mind that I'm like, oh, I could see that being a movie. Like Minecraft, I don't know. Sorry, pass. But maybe I'm just too old.
Minecraft is going to be like the Lego movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be like a kind of crossover, kind of Angry Birds kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Streets of Rage, it's like the writer of Nobody and one of the creators of John Wick, if I remember correctly.
Oh, let's go.
So I'm like, oh, this could potentially be good, but I'm like more wait and see on that. I don't really know the lore of Streets of Rage.
Is Streets of Rage meant to be live action? Did they say, or is it animated?
Probably.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Personally, I mean,
that sounds like it's going to be bad then. I'm just saying right now. I mean, look, I heard Nobody's great. I like John Wick, but I don't know. That just sounds like it's going to be the Double Dragon movie,
Yeah. That's why I'm like, maybe, but It Takes Two, I could see adapting to a movie like pretty well. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The video game movie Gold Rush is officially underway. Yeah. We're only going to be seeing more and more and more of these. And then one of them is going to bomb harder than any movie has ever bombed before. And then a bunch of these projects are just going to get canceled. Calling it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hollywood be like that.
So this was a big piece of news that broke recently, is that the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance emulators for the Nintendo Switch Online service, or that's the speculation, have apparently leaked online, developed by the Nintendo Europe R&D nerd. I guess some Twitter users have shown some like images and various like screenshots and lists of games and stuff that they've gotten from that have been, at least games that were tested on it. Is that sound correct? I don't know a ton of that. Like some of these things aren't available anymore. You have to like use the Wayback Machine and that kind of stuff from it. But like, only work on. Go ahead.
Some of them were tested, but some of them were actually inside the emulator that people were running on their Switches, right? Like these game files, that you can play on a hacked Switch, were uploaded to 4chan or like Anon Share or whatever it's called, right? And so it's like people grabbed these files and put them on their homebrew Switches and were able to load it up. And this Game Boy Advance emulator had a lot of these GBA ROMs within it already. So that's, I mean, if that's a fake, I mean, like, if this is a hoax, that means that somebody thought it was important enough for them to fake out people by building their own emulator that works on the Switch and actually getting it to work and load it up with ROMs and put it out there and make it look like it was Nintendo official. And that seems like pretty out there for someone who's just, you just make a JPEG or something if you wanted to do a fake leak, right? You wouldn't just like actually build the thing.
It's 2022. Fakes have gotten way more sophisticated.
Well, yeah. Previous guest of the show, MVG, I think even made a comment about thinking it might be fake, right? Because of use of Easy Flash cartridges. I don't know how any of this stuff works.
Yeah. So
but then like Oatmeal Dome responded, another big data miner that like, well, but there's this and so I don't know. I don't follow all this detail, but like
I can give you a quick recap of that. So basically, first of all, MVG has gone back on that.
Oh, okay.
And he's since said that he does believe it to be real. But yeah, it is strange. Like within this emulator, there's a page that shows an unofficial third-party flash cart for the Game Boy Advance as like a way to dump your ROMs, right? Or a way to like load up ROMs. So it's like, hey, you can try grabbing the files from here, putting them on a third-party flash cart, and then seeing if they work on original hardware, right? So that was initially very suspicious because Nintendo is like super against these flash carts and they've publicly distanced themselves from them many times. So they're like, if this was Nintendo, why would they do that? But you had said at the beginning, Patrick, this was made by a nerd or the, European division of Nintendo that has been handling all of the emulation, all the virtual console stuff. I don't know if it was on the Wii, but for the Wii U and everything on NSO, pretty much, they're the ones that are developing all the emulators. So it's like this build might never have been meant to be seen by anybody outside of that core team of developers at Nerd. You know what I mean? I don't think they ever even thought that this build was meant to be seen by, Nintendo proper, right? So it's either way, I think that this is very clearly a real leak, right? I don't know that all the games that are in that list are going to be coming out, right? But I think that without a doubt, I think before this year is over, I would bet we'll see Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games coming to the Switch.
Hopefully, because all these shops closing down, you're going to lose a lot of access, like true digital access to these and being able to buy them. So hopefully, yes.
I don't think that that's a coincidence either. I think that the timing is intentional, right? Like as soon as they're no longer available on this thing, they start rolling this out and they're like, well, don't be mad. See, here you go. Golden Sun.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, David, you and I were talking about this on Discord because you just said that these games are probably coming to the Switch, but what that could mean in its form, it could be many things. It could be like a collection. It could be a service added to Nintendo Switch Online. A third, it could be both. It could be a third unrealistic option of having a mini console. I think, Nerd, correct me if I'm wrong, was the company that made the GameCube and Wii emulators for Super Mario 3D collection.
Yeah, that's correct.
So it could mean anything. It could be one or all of those options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just like the breadth of the kinds of games that they tested out in this thing, to me, would say that this is coming to NSO in some fashion, right? Because there's a lot of different kinds of games. Some are third party, some are first party Nintendo. One of them even, I was concerned at first that WarioWare Twisted wasn't in this leak because that meant to me that they wouldn't be building motion functionality into the emulator. But there is actually another game that uses motion accelerometer functionality within the cartridge. So it's like that brings WarioWare Twisted back on the menu for me, which is awesome because that's one of my favorite games. And so, so I don't know. To me, this kind of feels, if I had to speculate, I would say that at the summer, I'm not going to call it the E3 Direct anymore because E3 is not happening this year. But if we still get a June Direct, I would imagine that we'll be getting some sort of announcement then or soon after, maybe closer to Nintendo. I just almost called September Nintendo. Closer to September.
September.
It says September. Whenever a lot of people's subscriptions are going to start to lapse. I think my money is they're going to be adding in Game Boy and Game Boy Color into the base tier and then Game Boy Advance into the expansion pack tier, right? Because I think it's been a very long time since they've added anything into the base tier that's worthwhile. And I think, Game Boy and Game Boy Color feels like that could work over, or maybe even just Game Boy, right? Because this emulator runs all three, right? So I think, but I cannot see them adding Game Boy Advance into anything other than the expansion pack.
That feels right.
Well, I feel like we could talk about this for a lot longer, but we have a lot left, and it's
This is basically almost an Oops All News episode.
We should move on.
Yeah.
Couple of game release date announcements here. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 originally slated for September, so for Nintendo.
Is it September? Is it Septendo or Nintendo?
Both. Yeah. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 originally slated for September, now is going to be released July 29th. Bumped up. So along with that, they showed off as I understand it, pretty decent new trailer here, which shows some more details. People have been analyzing, and I'm gonna toss it to our resident Xenoblade expert here. How are we feeling?
This is great. I have no idea what the fuck's happening in this trailer. I can't tell if it's a combination of the two worlds connected from Xenoblade Chronicles Future Connected and All Rest from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. A lot of the character designs look similar and share many of the same voice actors. So there are blades, which are the weapons from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But there are also icons in some of the UI from both Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But there's also mech suits, which is from Xenoblade Chronicles X for the Wii U.
Everything. Oops, all.
And there's
Oops,
twice as many. There's twice as many people in your party too, right? Like, isn't it just like that much more complicated? Yeah.
Which I think is cool for any. I always hate playing role-playing games where you have people on the bench, because then you end up just benching somebody the whole game.
And they're not leveled when you decide to bring them back up. Yeah.
And you don't know how to use them and stuff. So I think it's always cool when a game figures out a good way to allow you to use more characters in battles. And so hopefully that works well.
Rip out there, by the way, to all the people who are trying to slam Xenoblade 1 and 2 before September. Now you got to slam it before July. So good luck to you. Those are hefty games.
If I would just speculate on the lore, just a little bit, I won't spend too much time, is that they featured a winged head character who might be Melia from Xenoblade Chronicles. So maybe she's in this elevated position. And maybe we see Shulk. Maybe we see fucking everyone. I don't know. But it's,
maybe we see Snake and Captain Falcon.
Yeah.
Everyone's here.
Waluigi.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's go. Mandalorian, Baby Yoda.
Mandalorian. It's Fortnite now.
Yeah. Thanos.
Doctor Strange. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Michelle Yeoh.
Well,
John Wick.
Yeah, not to cut you off, but we do have a lot to talk about. So another big Nintendo franchise, Splatoon 3 got dated, and originally we knew it was coming in summer, and I guess technically it still is, though it's coming in September 9th. So it does make you wonder if maybe there was a little switcheroo happening here.
Absolutely, that's what happened. Yeah.
And they have shown off some footage of this game as well. We got to see some turf war in action from Splatoon 3. There's a lot of brief Splatoon news here, but before we get into that, what do we think about this date and any of this footage we've seen? Any thoughts on that?
This is a bummer. I think that it would have been better. They never said exactly when Splatoon was coming out. They just said summer, right? But with the Xenoblade realignment, they don't really push games forward very often.
That's weird,
right? And so it's like clearly what happened here was Xenoblade 3 was done or close to it, and Splatoon 3 just needed more time in the oven, right? And they were like, well, we got this thing done, we'll just flip you guys, right? I do think it's a bit of a shame, mainly because I'm more of a Splatoon player than I'm a Xenoblade player, but also I just think that like Splatoon just makes more sense to have out earlier in the summer, because it's really big with kids. It's like perfect summer game for them. Just spend a lot of time playing Splatoon over the summer, especially in Japan, right? The fucking tweet you got on here did like crazy numbers, and Nintendo or I think it was just the Japanese Splatoon page It's almost at like 400,000 likes or something like that. It's like insane. It's one of the
Whoa.
biggest. Yeah, it's like one of the biggest gaming related tweets ever. Basically saying this is coming out in Japan. It just shows how popular it is there.
Well, some of the other news related is that there's an interesting patent filed related to sort of Splatoon mini maps recently, which if you're into that kind of stuff, go check it out. Who knows what it means? Maybe we'll find out when the game comes out. Splatoon 2, the Octo expansion DLC, is being added to Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. So if, like me, you and David, I think too, you bought it and barely played it, bit of a bummer because you could have had it for free now.
Yeah.
And that might have been more exciting.
But this is great. It's awesome. It's
good.
really, really good. Yeah.
It's been out for 2 years, more than that now,
Yeah.
2.5, something like that. This Octo expansion, maybe longer than that, even 3. I don't know.
I feel like Breath of the Wild. I feel like next time we get a substantial update on Breath of the Wild 2, they're going to drop the Breath of the Wild expansion into this as well. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Does make sense. So I think you said this too, David, so I'm stealing your thunder twice, but like it does make you second guess buying any Nintendo DLC that you aren't going to play right now.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if that's going to bite them in the foot eventually, right?
Yeah.
Probably not. Jordan shaking his head.
They're doing all right. They don't have to pay their contract workers, so they're doing just fine.
Oh, God. Podcast over.
And this one's just for Donnie. Digimon Survive is getting a date. It's coming out July 28th. There you go, Donnie.
Digimon Cyber Sleuth Tactics.
And then real just interesting, I think.
That was briefly, the shortest amount of time we've ever spent on a news topic. Come on.
Nobody's got anything to
for
say.
Donnie.
Digimon's coming to Xenoblade.
Fortnite.
We love you, Donnie. And we love
That's
Digimon as much as you do.
That's why we're saying it.
I just have nothing to add. But I love.
I put it in here for Donnie.
Yeah.
How many times can we say Donnie's name in this episode?
Keep posting eShop deals.
Yeah, thank you, Donnie.
Real briefly too, the Lego Mario sets continue to be pumped out, and we're getting a Lego Princess Peach. So they added Luigi and Luigi Mansion sets, and I don't know if you've been to a store that has Lego sets, but now it's its own giant section. There's a ton of Mario sets, and we got this nice little Peach figure, which is pretty cool, honestly, coming along to join them. Rounding out the news here, we got Shin Megami Tensei has now sold over 1 million units. It passed 1 million sales worldwide, less than 6 months since that game came out. So I'm sure that's got to be up there for like the best-selling Shin Megami Tensei game. And then, as mentioned at the top of the show, I am very much looking forward to this Nintendo Switch Sports coming out this week. Man, I have to be honest that when they first announced this game, I was like, okay. But when that playtest happened, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty pumped to like play with my family, to play with y'all, to play with just random people when I'm in, like it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope. Fingers crossed.
we all getting this game?
Yes.
Yeah. I think, again, I was kind of on the fence when they first announced it, but after playing it, I'm into it.
What is $40, right?
Yeah, the digital version is $40. You can pay $50 for the leg strap version, but I think you can also buy a leg strap separately. And you might have one from Ring Fit.
Yeah.
I wasn't clear if there's any benefit to having two for local multiplayer, but it's also they're going to sell them separately, so I would hold off if you have one.
Or you can just use a rubber band, dude.
Yeah,
you
also
just tie a bandana around your leg. Yeah, exactly. No, this is
Get
great.
your Joy-Cons charged up, yeah.
I would imagine that this game is gonna also have DLC, and I bet you anything that they are going to add more sports and have them included in expansion pack.
That's a good guess. They've announced the one that's going to be free, but man, that makes sense.
It's golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, there are so many to choose from, right? If you just want to bring over stuff from like Wii Sports Resort, like archery was so fun in Wii Sports Resort. You had skydiving, you had frisbee, all these like super fun games that I would love to see in this as well. But because right now it feels a little bit light on content, but I'm excited for the online and stuff like that. $40 is a good price, but I think that's why it's $40, right? I think if I think they're going to be adding like $20 worth of DLC like later down the line.
I don't
You're
want
absolutely right.
I don't want to
sorry.
start too much of a fun conspiracy theory, but I think one of the DLCs will be pickleball.
Why do you say that?
Isn't that too similar to tennis?
And badminton?
It's the same.
And volleyball?
Yes, exactly. That's why it's an easy sell.
Easy.
But I recently read an article that pickleball
it's mega popular.
Yeah, it's super popular, especially with celebrities, but it's the fastest growing sport in the West.
Weird.
And there's a
retirement communities and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
there's a special celebrity pickleball coming to Paramount Plus, as well
What
as.
does that even mean, Matt?
I don't know. I'm just saying, if I would if I were a betting man,
I miss the Wii U days without pickleball.
pickleball's coming. It's everywhere.
I am so resentful of pickleball. Can I just say that?
You
I
should.
resent pickleball. I resent the existence of it. And I'll tell you why. Because I love playing fucking tennis because I'm a man. I'm a grown man, right? And I don't fuck with pickles, right? But you know what? Anytime I try to go to the courts by my apartment, it's always filled with fucking bros playing pickleball. And on the sign, it says there, this court is for tennis only. And I'm like, guys, look at the sign. I'm here to play tennis with my grown men friends and sometimes women. And then they're like, no, bro, fuck it, man. This is tennis. Anyway, sorry, I did not expect to have that reaction to that.
just all the bros playing. Are they all white dudes playing pickleball?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Something I just noticed too, and this might just be an error. It could be in lots of games, but on the Switch Sports eShop page, it does say in-game purchases on it. And I don't know of anything that they've announced so far.
You heard it here.
That-
if we don't get pickleball as DLC, I will eat. David,
How many pickles?
Advanced emulator.
How many pickleballs will you eat?
Up to 2.
I'm not eating shit. I'll eat pickles.
But anyway, we're going to all be playing Switch Sports. So definitely join the Discord, and I'm sure we'll be organizing some games there. And then, yes, we need to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk all about the 3DS. And, with this limited amount of time you have left, some of the games you should consider picking up that are locked to that system, at least right now. All right, so we are going to be talking about the 3DS, and in particular, we're talking about the best games on the 3DS that you can't get anywhere else, because very soon you won't be able to buy anything, or rather, you won't be able to add any funds to the 3DS. The 3DS eShop is going to close about a year from now, like March 2023. However, up until May 23rd, which is just a few weeks away, right? You aren't able to use a credit card after May 23rd. You can only add eShop funds until August. Point being, it's getting harder and harder to actually purchase games through the 3DS eShop. This is also true of the Wii U eShop, but we're focused on 3DS today, partly because there's more unique games, right, on the 3DS. Well, we're not trying to get into that discussion, but
where were you in 2014? Could have used your support for Nintendo, man, on that Wii U.
Where were you the day the Wii U shop closed? So back on episode 152, we kind of went into our feelings about the decision behind these stores closing. So we're not going to really talk about that. We're going to just mostly talking about games that are pretty much not available anywhere else that you might want to, hop on your 3DS and go check out, consider buying. These are going to be recommendations for you to consider. Yeah.
And a lot of these, correct me if I'm wrong, Jordan, you've kind of like put together a lot of this list, and a lot of these are games that, I know some of them you can buy physically, but the majority of these games are games that are like eShop exclusives, right? That will be lost to time once the shops close, correct? So it's like obviously there's still going to be, there's a ton of physically released 3DS games that are also going to be a lot harder to buy. The prices are already starting to skyrocket quite a bit on a lot of, used 3DS physical games. But there's also, a whole slew of games that, the best way for you to get them is to download them. But we're not going to be going into the majority of those. This is going to be stuff that is exclusive to the eShop for the most part.
Yeah. And Jordan, you've done a lot of work setting us up for this, so we appreciate it. But yeah, I'm going to kind of let you guide us through this list you've curated here. Thank you for being here and doing this for us.
Oh my God. I fell into like a rabbit hole Saturday night where for like 2 hours, I was just like, wait, is this available anywhere else? Okay, no. Okay. Wait, is this really? Because, a lot of other people have been publishing lists, but I was like, okay, which of these have I actually played? Which of these do I think I'm going to try to pick up? But I wanted to start with Pocket Card Jockey. This is a game that I straight up like lost like 2 weeks to. It is like so weirdly addicting. It's a Game Freak game, creators of Pokemon. Surprising to me and a lot of other people, they actually make other games besides Pokemon, not just Little Town Heroes.
Little Town Hero.
Yeah.
Little Town Hero. But dude, this one is so sick. It's like it's a card game meets like a horse racing sim. And so like the gameplay is on two screens. So on the top screen is like your horse race is going on. On the bottom screen is, I had to look it up. I didn't know what the game was based off. It's based off a game called Golf. It's like a card game. It's like a high-low card game.
Oh, right.
I've never actually played the card game, but yeah, it's based on that. And so the better you do and the more the board you clear of your cards, the faster your horse goes. And then there's also an element of like, once your horse gets too old, you can like breed your horse with other horses. And like, so it's like a horse racing and breeding sim as well. But it's just like super addicting, super fun, totally worth the price of entry. I don't know how much whatever it costs, it's worth it. It's not a $40 game. So, and then what I haven't played, but it's definitely worth mentioning, is another Game Freak game. It's like a rhythm runner style game called Harmonite, which was like pretty big. But yeah, both of them eShop exclusive for the 3DS. And once it's gone, like you can never get these games ever again. Have any of y'all played either of those?
I've seen footage of Pocket Card Jockey because I heard about that game and was like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I've always been fascinated by it, but I never gave it a try. I have never heard of Harmonite.
Yeah, definitely buy Pocket Card Jockey before it goes offline, because it is just like simple and addicting. Is great.
Yeah. I mean, we should also say that it's like, these are probably worth actually playing on hardware too. I think the great thing about the 3DS and the DS and DSi games included is like, is that it's built with dual screen functionality. That's like really hard to emulate properly on other hardware. Like, yeah, you can install Citra on a Steam Deck or something like that, but it's not going to have the same effect as having a screen on the bottom and a screen on the top. So a lot of these games are definitely worth playing on hardware.
Oh yeah, Pocket Card Jockey, $7.
Yeah, I'm getting that right now.
It's sometimes hard if you've never played a 3DS to realize just how the two screen thing works and how games are built for that, and how it would be hard to emulate, especially on other handhelds and things like that. But
yeah, I just don't see how you could do Pocket Card Jockey without just like splitting the screen in half, and you got less real estate, and it becomes a mess. But moving on, publisher Level 5, I think they're a publisher. They had this series called Guild 1 and Guild 2. In Japan, it got a physical release, and it was a collection of games by specific creators. They made like a short experience game, and the first one I think has 4 games on it, and then Guild 2 has 3 games on it. But in the West, in the US, it's digital only, and they're per game, not like per collection, so you have to buy them individually. So all of these are going away except for one. So I think these are all worth mentioning. The first one is Liberation Maiden. It's like a shoot 'em up, a shmup. That one was actually also released on iOS from what I found. But other than that, all of these are 3DS eShop exclusives in the West. The next one is Aero Porter. It's an airport baggage simulator. It's like a puzzle game where you try to figure out how to put baggage on airplanes. It looks interesting. I never played it, but definitely
this is whole from the creator of Tower and Seaman.
Oh,
Error Porter.
I didn't know that.
That makes some sense. And then level 5, they did like, they're the publishers of like Professor Layton and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
I also think just like shorter, cheaper experiences are great. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that this kind of stuff is really cool, and it being locked to a platform that's going away. It's great that you're mentioning these.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is like pretty popular. This is like one of the main things that's going away that people remember is Crimson Shroud. It's like a D&D style adventure game. This one is great because it's like a adventure style game, but you actually have like dice rolling in the game. Like you see the dice rolling. I feel like a lot of like D&D games don't show you the dice. It's all like behind the hood, you know? So this one is like very much like you're playing a D&D campaign and there's a dungeon master telling you what's happening. It's like a very text-based adventure game, but with the dice rolls. Just a really cool way to do that. And I honestly haven't really played anything quite like it. Definitely worth a check out, a buy. I really enjoyed the experience. The next one is Weapon Shop de Omasi. I don't know. This one I haven't played, but I've always wanted to pick up. It's they call it a fantasy rhythm RPG. You play a weaponsmith, and to make the weapons for the adventurers, it's a rhythm game. So it's like a shop sim / rhythm game, I think. I don't know. It's on my list. Been on my list for forever.
If you're listening to the podcast version, what are you doing? Get over to the YouTube version so you can see the videos of these games that we're talking about.
Very good.
So that's all Guild 1. And then Guild 2 is there's 3 games. Attack of the Friday Monsters. I played this one. It's like a really nice, short, less than an hour, like slice of life game. Very much reminds me of like a slice of life anime. I watch a few of those, and it's just really peaceful and pleasant. It's really nice. Like reminds you of being a kid in the summer. That's how I would describe it. Another one, Bugs versus Tanks. I haven't played this one personally, but it's Inafune game where you play Nazi tanks fighting bugs. I don't know. Definitely weird one.
I have heard of this game. Yeah.
I was unfamiliar with the Guild series of games. But just to reiterate what you said before you listed the 3 in Guild 1, but these are games from well-known game creators making these like little game experiences. This was new to me, and I only say that because as I'm watching the trailer for Bugs vs. Tank, it's from the creator of Mega Man, Dead Rising, and Onimusha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the third one in Guild 2 is the Starship Damray. It's a first-person horror adventure game. I actually watched a trailer for this today, and I was like, actually, I didn't really give it the time of day, but it looks interesting. I'll probably pick this up before it goes away. It reminds me kind of almost like a first-person, I don't want to say Dead Space, but like atmospheric, like that. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. Maybe like a System Shock, like that style of atmosphere, but in like a slower first-person adventure game. Yeah, and so that's Guild 2. Both of the Guild series, just a really interesting concept experiment in small game development for small bite-sized experience, which I do as an adult. Like I have less and less time to game.
Totally.
So if you give me like a good 2 to 3 hour experience,
yes,
like
more,
I love it.
This kind of stuff reminds me of like what they're doing currently with like the Playdate right now, that kind of new handheld that came out with a crank on it. Those just started shipping out finally to people who had pre-ordered them, but that's their whole philosophy as well, is they kind of release these seasons of games, right, that are all made by individual creators that are kind of like making stuff specifically for that hardware. And so any kind of experimenting like this with different game types, I love to see. It's also Bit Trip Saga I have back there. It's kind of like that with the Bit Trip games. Yeah.
I never made that connection, but it's spot on. It's like exact. It's like very similar. Yeah. This one I didn't really see a lot of people mention, but this blew my mind because, okay, so the Fire Emblem Fates, Fire Emblem Awakening kind of revitalized the franchise. And then they came out with Fire Emblem Fates, and they did this thing where they came out with 2 games. It was like Birthright and Conquest. And they're 2 different physical copies, or you can buy DLC if you have one or the other. But they're different storylines. And the whole premise of the game is you are a character who finds out that you have lineage in 2 different houses that are warring, and you have to pick which one you want to go to.
Right.
So, but as DLC, they added a 3rd storyline that's completely different than the first 2 called Revelation. And it's where you don't pick a house. And so you have your own complete, unique, separate storyline that has nothing to do with you picking either house and like committing yourself to one of the houses. And it was a DLC only, and it's a full Fire Emblem game storyline, DLC only. There is a the caveat is there is a physical edition that contains all 3 of the Fates storylines in one cartridge, but it is the special edition, which y'all know is like notoriously hard to get when Nintendo. And so I looked it up, and I was like, dude, it goes for about $400 to $600 for this game.
That's
used
insane.
for the physical copies. So once the eShop goes away, you won't have access to the storyline unless you buy that one physical cartridge. Like, that's the one I was like, dude, this is insane. Like, they're going to completely eliminate a Fire Emblem game, essentially. Anyway, that I have already bought. I haven't played it, but I have it already. So I'm like, I already got it, but still, I was like,
I feel like Nintendo didn't really plan ahead on this shit, man. I mean, like, okay, I know we're just talking about games here, but it's like,
they make funky hardware, and then they're like, well, you can't, how do you, recreate
exactly
this 2-screen experience?
Or just locking stuff behind services that end, like there's a lot of games like on Wii U, especially, but also on 3DS that have functionality locked behind Miiverse, right? And once they shut down Miiverse, even with the eShop open, it's like, well, that's part of the game you're just never going to be able to play anymore,
For sure. And it's like, if you play the 2 storylines and you're curious about the 3rd and then just not being able to ever play it is just, it is so baffling to me, especially when the storyline is like, you choose no house. Like, what does that mean? You know, like if you're so invested in the story, definitely not worth $500, $400.
Probably not
worth it.
No. Now we've entered the part of the list that I love.
Yes, this is me thinking of you, David. Also, because I mean, I guess my first Picross game was on the DS, but they first started putting out regular digital games on the 3DS. I think it's called Picross E.
It's the Picross E series, yes.
Yeah.
It's basically the equivalent of Picross S series on the Switch, but on the 3DS. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've never had a physical release, which it would be so easy for them to have just put like all the E series on one cart, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's just it's only digital. So these Picross games, I there's like 7 of them.
I think there's 8.
Eight of them, right? Yeah. Gone forever. And then there's a couple special Picross games that are going away. In particular, the one that I haven't played, but I'm gonna get is Picross 3D Round 2, which I played Picross 3D. Have you played Picross 3D?
I have a little bit, yeah.
That was a DS game, and then the Round 2 in the US was a digital only. It's Picross, but 3D.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that like you can turn on the slider. It's like the puzzles are 3-dimensional.
Yeah, you rotate
objects.
them. Yeah, work on them like that. It's super fun. There's an equivalent of it on the Switch called Voxelgram, which is fun. But again, it's just like the best Picross games are made by Jupiter, right? Like they're the only ones that like really get it. Like the satisfying like beating of it, like a lot of thought is put into the puzzles, but then also on top of it, it's just like the snappiness of it. Like other Picross games like feel laggy in comparison to Jupiter Picross games. Definitely worth checking that out. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's 2 Nintendo themed Picross games that are going away. Pokemon Picross, which was like a free-to-play title. I think it was kind of like one of the, for me, the first ones I remember of Nintendo doing a free-to-play game. And basically you kind of like did you could only do a certain amount of puzzles a day. And then you had like, like a little meter, very much like a mobile game almost. I honestly am surprised that this hasn't come out on mobile or like some sort of Switch port, because it makes perfect sense.
There was also a canceled Pokemon Picross for the Game Boy Color as well that leaked as a part of the Giga Leak recently. Yeah, I've played it. I have it on my emulator. Yeah.
Is it good?
It's great. Yeah. It plays a little differently from other Picross puzzles where it's like the sprites, it's like it's not making exact pixel art. It's like doing kind of rough outlines of more drawings. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's good. But Pokemon Picross on the 3DS also, I will say, if you're looking to somehow modify your Nintendo 3DS, great way to do that is through Pokemon Picross. That's one of the games that you can use to homebrew your 3DS. It's a little bit of a trick there for you.
Nice. I did not know that.
Yeah. It's like kind of like the game that you can use to spoof your 3DS. Anyway, we don't have to talk about that, but
that's cool.
Look it up on GBA Temp. And then the other one on here, I'm going to take over this one here, Jordan. But My Nintendo Picross, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, is a really awesome game. It's just a Zelda-themed Picross, and it's only available through... It used to be on Club Nintendo, but is now still on My Nintendo right now. And it's actually still available. I actually got this about a month ago using gold points or platinum points that I had in my Nintendo account. And so if you have a 3DS and you like Picross games, this is almost certainly going to go away, once they stop eShop downloads from happening as well. So get it on My Nintendo while it's still available.
Didn't you say that Twilight Princess was the worst Zelda game?
Yeah, but I mean, it's Picross, baby. Yeah, I will say My Nintendo Picross Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess is better than Twilight Princess.
Oh my God.
Please don't hurt me.
The hot takes, dude. Holy shit. Yeah, also about this too, because it is a My Nintendo reward only. First of all, I got it today because I hadn't got it yet. It's 1,000 platinum points. But if you notice on the My Nintendo, there's still a 3DS/Wii U section of the rewards, and there's no like Switch digital games or Switch digital rewards section yet. Do y'all think that whenever this gets axed, they'll switch it out with a Switch one? Wow,
No.
They'll just cut it.
Yeah, I think they're just going to cut it. Yeah.
You don't think they're gonna have any other Switch exclusive?
No, I mean, like, they didn't have many in here, right? Most of the stuff that you would find in that section were like discounts for games. Like you could use platinum points to buy like 30% off Dylan's Rolling Western or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, so I think even then they didn't want to just give stuff away. They gave this away because it's Picross and there are 1,000 other Picross games on the 3DS already, right?
They added the platinum points to the Switch, but it's all for the like profile stuff.
Yeah, they wanted to
Maybe
unlock
that's-
avatars and
Maybe that's the future of platinum points.
yeah, for Nintendo's metaverse.
That makes way more sense.
Super Game Initiative.
Yeah, Nintendo's Super Game Initiative. Yeah.
Just to be clear, so this Legend of Zelda Picross is not available on the eShop, but it's only available via the My Nintendo, the online portal.
Yeah.
So whatever it is.
You buy it like through My Nintendo, like through a browser or something like that, and then you put the code into the eShop and you download it that
the
way.
levels of friction are high.
I know, yeah. That's why I was like, what do I have to do to get this game again?
You have to
Well, first of all, you
click
need a
around the
3DS.
website to earn the points.
I will say, as someone who downloaded it today, I was like surprised. The level of friction is a little bit less. It literally, I clicked redeem and it said, make sure if you connected your 3DS to your My Nintendo account and your My Nintendo account, like once you buy it, it says, put your system into sleep mode and it'll download.
Yeah.
It's like, what? So I closed my system and it downloaded onto my 3DS, but only because I had all the accounts connected. So
I see.
a little bit less. I didn't have to put the code into the eShop, but it is still like, I was surprised at how quick it was for a Nintendo thing. I was
Okay, just to break down all the steps. First, David, as you said, you got to get a 3DS. You got to get a 3DS, and then you got to get in My Nintendo account, and then you have to connect your new 3DS.
No, you got to get the points.
You got to get the points.
Yeah, first you gotta visit the mynintendo.com website every day. Get 10 coins by clicking on the little rolling coin that your Mii is chasing after, and then do that for several months.
Buy Super Mario
Do it for
Run.
100 days.
Yeah. Play Pocket Camp enough, and you'll be able to afford it.
Anyway, okay, moving on. That's the 3DS Picross games. Another one that you might enjoy, David, is
I love this one.
Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix.
Let's go.
I haven't played it, but apparently in the West, it's a digital only release.
It is, unfortunately. Yeah. This would have been a great physical release. But yeah, the Rhythm Heaven games is kind of, this is the WarioWare Gold of the Rhythm Heaven games. It's the same developers, and it's basically like a mashup of the original Rhythm Tengoku for the Game Boy Advance, which was never localized here in the US. Rhythm Heaven, I think, Paradise, it was whatever the one for the DS was called, and then also the Wii game. And it's basically like it's levels from all three of those mashed up with like new updated art and stuff like that. So if you love rhythm games, or if you just love the zany, off the wall, weird, trippy humor of the WarioWare series, this is a must buy on the 3DS. This is one of my favorite 3DS games, honestly.
Cool. I'm glad you knew. I haven't played it, but I just knew it was digital only.
Yeah. Yeah. Buy it or import the Japanese version and a Japanese 3DS.
Okay, so hold on. Break down the steps for me.
Go to Japan.
Yeah.
Go to Japan.
Done.
Visit the Yoshi ride.
I don't have an email address. Can I still go to Japan without an email address and buy
You need a
ticket?
passport. First of all, you need a passport in order to play this game.
Well, first of all, you need to be a citizen in a country.
Dude, you do bring up an interesting point though, that the 3DS is region locked. I feel like I forgot because the Switch is not region locked.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, if you want to play these games, you have to have a region locked 3DS. So if like you want to play Japanese games, you have to have a Japanese 3DS, which I think is worth mentioning because like that's why like some of these being digital only in the West is such a big deal when the eShop closes down, because you can't even import a Japanese version to play on your American 3DS. Like just it won't work, you know? So anyway,
that's definitely annoying. It's I've been wanting to like, I have an original 3DS. I don't have a new 3DS or a 2DS or anything like that. And I've been wanting to actually buy a new 2DS just because my old one's kind of fucked and a little old and the hinge is bad and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, I want like a nice, clean 2DS, if not just a mod, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then the prices are just skyrocketing, right? But I always see really cheap prices, but they're always Japanese consoles. So make sure if you're buying one on eBay or something like that, if you see a really cheap one, it's probably a Japanese. If it says LL and not XL, that's how you know it's a Japanese system. Yeah.
And then a couple games that I did not play, but are eShop exclusive in the West. Dylan's Rolling Western 2, The Last Ranger, Mario and Donkey Kong Minis on the Move, and then Nintendo Pocket Football Club. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know much about these games. I just know that they're eShop exclusive. I did play a demo of Dylan's Rolling Western. It wasn't for me. It was fun, but it wasn't for me.
Dylan's Rolling Western is fun. I think Mario and Donkey Kong Minis on the Move is either very cheap or free, maybe. I think that might be like a free to start game that they had on there. And then I don't know anything about Nintendo Pocket Football Club, but I did want to give a shout out to Rusty's Real Deal Baseball, which I don't think you have on this list.
I don't, but yes.
Rusty's Real Deal Baseball is a really cool game. And it was a kind of a baseball game that had a lot of mini games in it and had a lot of charm, and the characters are really cool. And you could buy the games individually, or you could just play the game enough to where you could unlock the games that were within it, but you have to play for like a really long time in order to unlock the games. But it's a really fun game and a very unique gameplay experience that Nintendo has never really done since. That's worth checking out because it's free to download and check out. It's definitely worth grabbing on your 3DS.
Did you ever play the arcade badge, whatever thing?
Yeah, that shit was tight. Yeah.
Not a fan.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's, but I'd have nostalgia for it nonetheless. Yeah.
Same. Yeah. Because I did play Rusty's Real Deal Baseball, and I just spaced until you just said it. Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
Do you mind if I actually throw in a couple extra that I realized weren't on this list before we move on to, Virtual Console and classic games? I did want to also give a quick shout out to DSiWare, which is a part of the 3DS eShop. Obviously, the DSi actual shop itself on the DSi closed a long time ago. That closed at the same time that the Nintendo Wi-Fi service stopped and the Wii shop closed down. But all the DSiWare games migrated over to the 3DS shop, and they're all playable on the 3DS. And there's we could talk forever about DSiWare games. Probably not, actually, but there are a lot of gems, right? And just two I wanted to shout out real quick. One is Xscape, which is a game that's made by Dylan Cuthbert, who was the creator of the original Star Fox. And he also made, before Star Fox ever came out, a Game Boy game, an original Game Boy game called X. And that was like a 3D game on the Game Boy. It really pushed the boundaries of the Game Boy's tech. It was very similar to Star Fox, kind of all range mode, where you can kind of fly around and like very rough vector based polygonal graphics. And it was a very like kind of a weird oddity of the Game Boy that eventually turned into what Star Fox became. Like the ideas behind X became Star Fox eventually. And but it was like an oddity and nobody talked about it. And then on DSiWare, he made a full sequel to X called Xscape. And it's really awesome. It's a cool game, and it kind of has that old school visual style, but kind of adds color to it and a lot more, textures. But Xscape is a really fun game, and that's worth checking out on the DSiWare shop. And then also the Art Style series was kind of another sort of like this guild series you were talking about. They had lots of different little games within it. You saw a lot of this on the DSi and on the Wii, like little experimental games. But specifically, Art Style Pictobits is a very fun kind of color puzzle game. That's really fun to enjoy, but all of the Art Style games are great. So if you've gone through this entire list and you still have money to burn, check out the DSiWare shop as well. Yeah,
dude. Also, Risky's Revenge, Shantae was a DSiWare title, but it's on Switch now.
That's on Switch.
Whatever,
that's on Switch.
Whatever. There are more, but for me, those were like the ones I could remember from my research and off the top of my head, because I used to be heavy into the 3DS. But yeah, so then it's also worth mentioning Game Boy games that are on the 3DS but are not on the Switch yet. We'll see. Like, you can speculate all you want about this leak of the GBA emulator, but it's not official. No one from Nintendo is saying Game Boy games are coming. No, you don't know. I mean, we don't know until it says. So there's a couple games, just kind of go through a list: Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Pokemon Silver, Gold, Crystal, Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages, and Oracle of Seasons. Some of my personal favorites. I think those are
great games.
Some of the most underrated Zelda games.
Rumored to be being currently worked on by
Grezzo.
By Grezzo, yeah.
Grezzo. Dude, if that is true, I will lose it. Their Link's Awakening remake was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if that's true, but again, it's not announced. I don't trust anything till it's announced. Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Metroid 2 Original, Shantae, which got re-released, the original Shantae.
Developed by MVG, friend of the show.
Whoa.
Yep. Yeah, he did that port.
I had no idea. That's awesome. Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. One of my favorite Mario games. Not really talked about. Would love to see a remake. It's a little short. It's a little short, but whatever.
It's one of the best Game Boy games for sure.
It's awesome. Donkey Kong 1994. I put that on the list for y'all. I've never played it, but I know. I know.
Stop what you're doing right now and buy that game, dude. Donkey Kong 94 is the best Game Boy game. I can say safely. I think it's my favorite Game Boy game. I think it's the one that holds up the best out of all of them, of the original Game Boy, that is. So that one's definitely worth getting. For listeners of the audio version, Jordan is buying Donkey Kong 94 right now on his 3DS.
The eShop is coming up.
A man of his word. It's a slow process on the 3DS.
Yeah, it takes a second. Hang on. I got the eShop screen.
Yeah, I like your D brand skin you got on that thing there.
Oh yeah,
I put sponsored by D brand, but yeah.
I put wood grain on my 3DS.
Very good. Out of these, I would really recommend Mario Golf and Tennis are RPGs. By the way, I personally think the Game Boy Advance versions of those games are better, but both of those are really great Camelot RPGs with sports mechanics in place of battles. So those are really great Game Boy games. And then if you're going to go with any of those Pokemon games, get Pokemon Crystal. Pokemon Crystal is maybe the best Pokemon game ever made, at least of the classic ones, because it's got, all the Pokemon from Gold and Silver, and then it also has the entire Kanto region in addition to the Johto region. That game was a miracle when it came out, that it was able to fit all that stuff onto one cart. So yeah, that's definitely the one to get on the 3DS.
And then Donkey Kong Land 1 through 3 as well. I forgot to mention, just so much. So this is all of these games, or at least most of them, are available elsewhere digitally, but they're unique to the 3DS hardware because they added like 3D functionality. So a lot of these are like old school NES or Genesis games, but they added like layers so that when you play them in 3D, they like look more unique. So there's a 3D classic series. They did Excite Bike, Kid Icarus, and Kirby's Adventure. Of those three, I played Excite Bike and Kirby's Adventure. And the 3D effect is just fun. Like, yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, you're never going to be able to play it like that anywhere else, And
these are, for the record, these are not emulated games. These are remakes. These are like, they've rebuilt the games up from the ground up with all these layers, and they work in widescreen as well, right? Like to fill the 3DS screen. So these are definitely like kind of arguably the definitive way to play these games.
Sega did like a whole line of these games, and I don't even think this is all of them. This is just like a selection. They did, I think, like a dozen maybe. And they did a similar thing where they just took their old games and made them 3D. They did Streets of Rage 1 and 2, Outrun, Sonic the Hedgehog, Echo the Dolphin, and Gunstar Heroes. I think I have Gunstar Heroes and Outrun because I just thought those would look really cool in 3D. And
Outrun is phenomenal.
Yeah, it looks awesome in 3D. Like, wow, I'm driving.
Yeah, I think because Outrun is on the Switch as well, which I bought it on that too, just because I love the graphical style of that faux 3D. But yeah, on a 3DS, it's pretty spectacular looking.
Yeah. So, dude, and if it floats your boat, if you like those kind of old school games, but you want to see them in like a 3D environment, definitely worth it just to have it on the hardware. But yeah, I feel like that's about all I remember looking up.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty exhaustive list there. I mean, there's obviously a lot more, but that's a great place to start. That's kind of a best of. I want to throw one more, which is not technically correct because these games I think were collected into a collection, but NES Remix 1 and 2 on the 3DS. It's also on the Wii, I believe. I think they kind of ported them over, or there might be different games. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but NES Remix is something I'm amazed is not on the Switch. But those were really, really cool games that took a lot of these old school games and mashed up different elements of them into each other. So you'd have Booze in Metroid, and you would have, fucking Excite Bike cars and Kirby and all this stuff. And they would have like kind of little mini games that they would build off of it was basically like how in WarioWare, there's always like a classic Nintendo section in it that like, what's his name does 9 volts or whatever. Like he'll do those. It's kind of like that, but its own full game where everything mashes up together. And it's a blast. I would recommend the NES Remix series as well.
Yeah. I want to say that physical copy is like not very expensive.
Okay, so never mind.
There is a physical copy of that, and I only say that because I've been eyeing it for literally like since the day it came out. I'm still trying to buy Donkey Kong 1994 over here, and the layers of friction are actually very steep.
Yeah.
You need a passport.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. There is Ultimate NES Remix, which includes NES Remix 1 and 2 in a physical cart, and you can get it still for like $17.
Yeah. I didn't even realize there was 2. Whoa.
Yeah.
I just remember the 3DS one being like one game.
Yeah, I think the digital versions you get separately, and then the physical version has them both together. Yeah,
that makes way more sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got. I don't know if that's enough or what. This episode's already running long.
Oh my gosh,
so let's just, keep it going.
Listen, if you're an audio podcast listener, thank you so much for listening to this listicle episode.
Yeah. But also check out the video, because Matt is probably over here slamming the videos onto the screen as fast as he can.
I think I got most of them.
Yeah.
Maybe
Very good.
missed one or two, but I got most of them.
We'll see. I think the plan currently is to do another one of these episodes, but for Wii U software. So remember, the Wii U shop is closing at the same time as the 3DS shop. There's a lot of unique stuff on that system as well. We didn't even talk about Pushmo, did we?
No,
Pushmo.
I never played Pushmo.
Dude, Pushmo is incredible. Get Pushmo on the 3DS as well. There's so much good stuff out here. And you know what, dude? And also, we've talked about it before, but it's like once Nintendo takes away the ability to buy these games, as far as I'm concerned, you're given the green light to grab these games by whatever way necessary. So don't fret too much.
Well, yeah, I think that does it for our discussion on 3DS, eShop, the exclusives, and if any of that piqued your interest, definitely go check it out on the 3DS eShop. And let us know if we missed anything. And we're going to take a quick break while Jordan fires up Donkey Kong.
There he goes.
There he goes.
He did it. He's a man of his word.
And then, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the games we've been playing recently. I actually have a few things to talk about this time around. Try to remember them all. I have been playing Super Mario Galaxy, and I wanted to talk about this in particular because I never played Galaxy 1. Played Galaxy 2 long time ago, it feels like. And I really just needed something that felt familiar but new. And I was kind of thinking about, speaking of the 3DS, playing Donkey Kong Country Returns. And I was going to do it one night. I was going to fire that up. But then the cartridge was over here and the 3DS was over there. And I was just like, you know what? The Switch is right here. And there's similar vibes of like a game that I can just jump into and feel like I know what I'm doing. And I'm so glad I did. And I'm loving it. And also like playing it now, I'm like seeing Odyssey in it so much like that, like I didn't even really realize the bee suit feels very much like you've captured a bee, like the Luma in your hat, and like it just feels like I can see a lot of stuff from Odyssey that felt new in Odyssey. I can see the where it kind of came from.
The like evolution of it, right?
Yes, in a way that I didn't previously. And there's a bunch of games like my son and I have been playing a lot of Clubhouse 51 Worldwide Classics. He randomly wanted to play that, and
you're speaking my language.
He used to just be obsessed with tanks, but he's branched out, and we're playing random games on there, and that's been fun. And then we started playing Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past on the the NSO, and that's been a lot of fun. Which like. Also another game that I haven't played in forever, other than just firing up to just mess around with a little bit, and I am just blazing through that game, which is great because that's the way he likes to play games. So be like we'll get a mission and I'll be like, but we got to go get the Zora flippers, and he's like, no, they said to go to the castle. You know what I mean? But it's kind of great because I'm like, fucking all right, let's just go to the castle. You know what I mean? Until I need to swim, whatever. So
I started playing that again kind of recently too, and forgot like how challenging that game is. Like that's definitely one of the hardest Zelda games, I think, just in terms of like how tactile and immediate the combat is. Like
it is
like
it's like
I'm
save scumming,
yeah, exactly. Like With Z
not-
targeting on the 3D games, like combat is just a lot easier, I think, right?
You can line up in weird ways with enemies where they're hitting you and you're missing them. That's true.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm burning through it, but that's also because I'm saving and loading a lot, you know?
Yeah.
But I also feel like I know this game so well, and I'm just like pedal to the metal on it and having a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah.
Whereas I wouldn't feel that way, but it's like, man, I played the shit out of this game when I was like
Yeah.
11. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's fun to show it to my kid. There's more stuff, but I think that was some of it that I want to talk about. So yeah.
Very good. Matt, what are you been playing, man?
For me, I've been playing nothing but Tunic. Tunic is fucking tight. Have you all played Tunic yet?
Yeah.
I haven't.
I haven't beaten it, but yes.
I finished it this past weekend.
But I think this is great because wasn't it, Jordan? I don't want to step on your toes, but like you came to the Discord to voice some complaints.
Okay, I don't want to get steamrolled by anyone, but like I want to start by saying it's like, you know, you go to Hawaii and all the beaches in Hawaii are beautiful, but they start at an 8 and they go up from there. Tunic is a great game. It is an 8 and above, but I think I got a little overhyped. And I don't want to step on Matthew's toes. I want Matthew to go first and say what he loved.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. What do I pick up? I think it is in some parts better than Link's Awakening, and in other parts worse, because it is. I think if you're just starting to play games, Tunic might not be a game that's accessible.
Agreed.
So it's not accessible because there's no tutorial, and it has its own language. Yet, if you are played enough games, maybe you played a year or two worth of Zelda-like games, maybe you just played through A Link to the Past and Link's Awakening, and you want the same feeling, Tunic gives you those same feelings of a top-down dungeon crawling game with incredible music, really fun and dynamic action and gameplay, and the late puzzle games. If you really like puzzles, the puzzles and meta puzzles and meta puzzles are off the charts ridiculous.
Can you help me understand that? Because I know this has been some of the discussion on the Discord with like Dylan and you and Jordan. What does that mean? What do you mean when you say meta puzzle? Like the whole game is hinting at things, kind of, or something?
Have you ever played The Witness?
No.
Well, if you look at The Witness, is a great example of where it gives you puzzles. Like a puzzle is Tetris, or a puzzle is moving statues around. And then it combines the puzzles together. So you're using game mechanics from one puzzle and one from another puzzle archetype and putting them together. So now you have a new puzzle type, but it's two different ones. And so this is a puzzle where the world is designed in a way that's talking to you, not as like the character you're playing as, but as the player to help the fox solve a puzzle in the game. So it's a meta, as in it's outside of the game, but you're playing as the player. But you connect all of these pieces together in order to solve. In order to get the true ending, you need to solve these greater world puzzles.
And you're right on the money, Matt, when you said that this is a game that I think that you need to have been playing video games for a while in order to really get into, right? Because I feel like a lot of the game is like based on like player instinct. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you know to do this because you've played games before. You know that you would need a shield or that you would need a sword, you know, but you could like probably go through the whole game without having the shield. You know what I mean? Right. If you didn't think to like find it, right.
Yep.
Stuff like that. So, and yeah. And like, and it also plays with like the instruction booklet, the like NES instruction booklet that you find little bits of throughout. I love that aspect as well.
Well, I would say even though like this doesn't even apply to like a gamer, it applies to like an old school gamer. You have had to play a lot of like old school games, and I don't for me, I love that aspect of it. Like having this whole instruction manual that you build over the course of the game, I thought was like phenomenal, like game design, in the sense of like you're having to look at this to figure out what to do in the game. It's like very old school. It's like I've listened to Playing It Wrong, and I've learned that, Patrick, you look up the manuals, right?
Sometimes when I remember to, yeah, because
you should. You have to.
Yeah.
You had to back
if
in
you
the
want to get
day.
the story anyway.
Yeah, or like sometimes know the commands, right?
Yeah,
like there's
yeah.
no tutorials on a lot of them.
And that's how this game is too, is like sometimes you're like, oh, I didn't know I could do that until I read the instruction booklet, which I thought was really cool. Where I got bogged down, I was having a great time. The first like 75% of the game, I was like, this is phenomenal. I thought the tail into that game was extremely tedious. Specifically, there is like two different endings. Of course, there's like the golden path ending, which you have to do a bunch of different little puzzles for. But even just to get to the regular ending, I thought got to be a little bit like pad filled. And it's one of the moments where it's like, you remember why we moved away from this style of game design.
Yeah.
And I don't want to like get too far into spoiler territory, but there is like a collection fetch quest that is like the last quest before the final boss, that I was like, this is not the right time to put this in this game. Like I was just really annoyed by that right at the tail end of the game. And then for me personally, the golden path quest is nothing I would ever have figured out on my own. Like it is insanely tedious, and like I had to use a guide the entire time, and I wanted to see the ending, so I did use a guide, but it's like very rare for me. I almost never look through a guide to finish a game. I try to like do it as much as I can on my own, but this is just, it was just so in depth. And you can't look at like two things at once, but you need to be looking at two documents at the same time to figure out some of these puzzles. Again, try not to get into spoiler territory, but so then I had to like write stuff down, and it's just fine. But I don't know. I felt the end was like extremely tedious and kind of didn't like ruin the entire experience for me. But to me, it painted an image at the very end of the game that was not what I remembered from the first part of the game.
Are you about to show us your notes, Matt?
Well, I was about to bring it up,
Yeah,
but my
show 'em.
iPad, my iPad is dead, so I can't show you the notes that I had to take. But I agree with you. The end game of Tunic, the momentum is like incredible. It kind of leads up, and then it leads you to that fetch quest, which kills some of the momentum to the late game. So I definitely agree with that. As far as like the golden path, which are the puzzles, Patrick, this is what the meta puzzles come to. As soon as I understood the structure of the puzzles and what the game was asking me to do to gather them, I also followed a guide. I wasn't about to try and solve each of the puzzles within the world because I didn't have that amount of time, and there are 20 of them. And then one main one for the golden path. I wanted to see the true ending, so I also followed a guide once I understood the rules of what it was asking me to do. Yeah, and I'm like, that to me painted it moved it down a notch, like probably like a half a point. Though I respect the level of design that it took. Yeah, it's insane. If you're listening right now and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? What the hell is a puzzle? If you've ever done something called like a puzzle pint, or these aren't not like a Picross puzzle or a Sudoku puzzle, but these are like kind of mind puzzles to find patterns, similar to like Myst and The Witness. They're like complex that it always takes me like 20 minutes to get into the right headspace to try and understand puzzles like this. But that's a lot about Tunic. It's a great fucking game.
Thanks. Welcome to our bonus Tunic episode.
It's a great fucking game. If you got Game Pass,
episode we've done ever.
It is very good.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, it is a very good game.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Other than I've been playing Lego Star Wars, which is also fucking tight. However, if
Let's
you're
do
playing,
20 minutes on that.
don't play co-op. Co-op on console is terrible. Something to do
Man, that
with
sucks.
the experience is fine, but it's kind of blurry. The anti-aliasing has actually
Are you playing on Switch or are you playing?
I'm playing on
Xbox?
Xbox.
Okay.
The anti-aliasing has actually given me a little bit of motion sickness.
Oh man.
And I saw it on Reddit, so maybe wait if you're trying to play.
That's a bummer.
I
Yeah,
see if they'll patch it or
I
something.
hope they
Yeah.
patch it. They do.
Yeah,
have
yeah.
problems
You can fix it on
sometimes.
PC by turning it off, but it is not fun on
Yeah.
console.
Bummer.
Okay, that's it. I'm done. Tunic's fucking great. Lego Star Wars Skywalker Collection is great. We're
Yeah, I've heard that's also great. I'm gonna go real fast because I have like 50 games. I've been playing more Metal Gear Solid 3 on stream. Check it out. Look how fast that was. Also on Xbox, I got back into Lonely Mountains Downhill. That's probably just one of the finest games ever created. That game is so fucking good. And every time I play it, I forget how good it is. And I've been playing it more on there. Love Lonely Mountains Downhill. After our episode last week, about 420 games, I played all the way through Superliminal and loved it. Great game. It's awesome. At first, I was like, this is kind of boring. And then like it got really interesting really quick. And then like towards the end, it really gets to be like, what? You know? And the end of that game, I really, really, really enjoyed. So Superliminal was great.
perfect
And also-
example of like a 2 to 3 hour game. We need more of that.
Yeah.
Just a short experience. But that short
I beat
experience
it.
is
I
great.
beat it in 2 sittings. And both times I started playing after midnight, so it especially broke my brain because it was like I was like sleep deprived and like trying to figure out these like weird logic puzzles. And then I lastly on Xbox, I did start Life is Strange: True Colors, which is a game I've been wanting to play for a while. I've never played a Life is Strange game, but I've heard this is one of the best ones, and I actually am digging it so far. I like the characters in it. And I like the kind of the like emotions and like empathy mechanics that are built into this game. It's actually really interesting. But so those are the Xbox games I've been playing. We've been off 2 weeks, so we've been playing a lot. I did stream Radical Dreamers, the Satellaview game that is kind of a connecting game between Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross after our last episode. So if you're interested in seeing what that game is about, I implore you to go check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/monolithfiji. It's a text-based game. So I basically just did an audiobook on my Twitch. I like spoke every word of that game. I did all the voices to differing effects. Never quite got kid's accent down. It kind of changes throughout the streams. But yeah, it was super fun. Really enjoyed it. There's many endings to that game. I just beat one of the endings on stream. But I think once you get into like the new game plus, that goes a lot quicker when you play through subsequent endings. But yeah, very interesting experience. I recommend checking that out. Let's see what else. Beat all of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I beat the final boss finally. Let's see what else have I been playing. Tetris 99 had a Maximus Cup. Got that Kirby skin. I delved back into Sonic Mania. I finally bought that like DLC that they added for Sonic Mania Plus. So I'm like kind of, and just because I was getting hyped for Sonic Origins and I wanted to play some 2D Sonic, and Sonic Mania is such a good game. And so I've been playing the kind of like encore mode of Sonic Mania that gives you the new characters and stuff like that. Yeah. It's like a Mighty and I don't know what the other character's name is. So they were like kind of old obscure characters that they brought back. But yeah, but that one's cool because it's like you're like kind of cycling through all the characters during runs, right? It's like there are new boxes that you can get that like give you all the characters, and if you die, like lose your coins and then you die, you just like respawn as a new character. So it kind of like adds a lot of variety to the way that you play that game. So I've been really enjoying that. Continuing to play through Picross S7. Picked up Grapple Dog the other day because I had some extra eShop money, and great. Awesome. I've just started it, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I just wanted like a fun platformer. If you like GBA style platformers or like kind of Klonoa style games, but with like a grapple swinging mechanic, this game is awesome. I really enjoy it. Little bit of Mario Golf on N64. And then lastly, I want to just give a little shout out to a Wordle clone that was released on the Switch by the developers of, or at least the publisher behind the game Love, which is like a very basic 2D platformer. But this game is called Words with Freds. And it's really weird. It's $1 to buy, but if you own Love or a couple other games that this publisher also makes, it's free. I just want to say they just added an update to this game. I was actually over at a friend's house. We put this on the TV and all played Wordle together basically on the TV, and it was so much fun. And we were like drinking and we were all just like shouting out words that it could be. And we're like, no, it can't be that because there's an E there. And just like playing like cooperative Wordle is really, really fun in a party setting. So I really recommend actually picking up Words with Freds. Just if you just like want to stream Wordle, it's like a really fun way to do it. And I think that the words are actually a little bit harder in this game. They have like less of a cap on like, I feel like Wordle makes the words like really easy. You know what I mean? That anybody could get. Like there are words in here where I'm like, I've known all of them, but I'm like, oh, that would never be in regular Wordle, you know? And so it's like Wordle expert mode, and you can play it as much as you want. So those are the games that I've been playing. Great time. Jordan, you've been playing anything other than Tunic, my man?
Apex always. They had some new event. I got whatever
The new
stupid
season
skin
coming
you
out
did.
too, right? Couple weeks?
Yeah, in early May. I never really pay attention to the release windows except for when I know my battle pass is about to run out. So I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get to level 110 before this so I can get the whatever weapon skin that I'm never gonna use anyway. But yeah, anyway. Tunic, which we've talked about, finished it. I had taken like 2 weeks off and then I went back because someone in the Discord, Rapatica,
Rapatica.
Recommended it, and I did enjoy the game overall, but yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Let's skip back like 10 minutes. And
You've already heard it.
Triangle strategy. I am like knee deep. I am so invested in this game. I'm probably about like 30 hours in. I'm on chapter 13. Love it. It's such a good tactical game. I was like a little turned off by how story heavy it was up front, but the further you get in it, I'm like, I'm invested. I'm so in. All these characters are, I think, great. Yeah, I love it. And then also like these like weird exploration puzzles that they include in the game later on, like are really cool. And just the way that they make the choices feel important, I think is like really well done. So, and then lastly, he's gone, but I did play Monochrome Heights today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did.
Patrick,
it's fine. Yeah,
Patrick, he's talking about your game. He played Monochrome Heights.
Oh my gosh, thanks.
I played Monochrome Heights today. I'm not gonna lie, I did quit on level 3, but mostly because I didn't have a controller.
It's hard,
on
yeah. I don't recommend playing it with a keyboard, and it doesn't have remappable buttons in its current state.
I also played it on keyboard, and I had a hard time. My brain did not shift.
It's hard, period.
Yeah, it's a tough game.
My brain could not, like, my brain kept up. I was like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but it wouldn't translate to my fingers, if that makes any sense. But I think with the controller, I was like, oh, okay, I could see myself beating this game with the controller.
I think with the trigger buttons. Anyway,
Yes.
Shoulder buttons would be good.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the whole main, like, construct of the game with the color switching, I was like, this is cool. Like,
it's really cool.
So yeah,
I'm sticking with it. I'm kind of excited about it. I've been working on it. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we were talking about maybe going to some game dev meetups as well. Maybe bringing that game as well. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
It's got great
Cool
bones.
plan.
It's
Good
got
bones.
great bones.
The bones.
Dude.
It's got great bones.
The bones are great.
No,
I see
so.
I see bones.
Yeah, I see bones. As far as the eye can see, bones everywhere.
I see head
they're
bones,
fucking great.
and they're great.
I see gizzards and bones.
What's the name of your game again? Say it again.
Monochrome Heights.
Monochrome
Check it
Heights. Okay.
That's it.
Well, awesome. I think that is it then for this meaty episode. Indeed. Thank you, Jordan, so much for doing all that research and coming on and talking with us about 3DS games.
Love to do it. Thank you for having me.
Thanks to MilkyWay.co for doing our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. If you're looking for me online, you can find me as PDYX.
Hey, I'm Matthew on Twitter, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Jordan? Where can people find you online?
You can find me in the Discord at Bordan and some mostly dead social media accounts on Instagram at Bordan or Twitch at Bordan. Haven't streamed in a while, haven't posted in a while. I posted my stories, but I don't post my feed or whatever. Anyway, but you can find me there.
You can find him on the newly minted Elon Musk Twitterverse. We'll talk about that maybe next week or never. If you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Elon Musk's Twitter. We are at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. And then we got a website, www.switchheads.com. It's actually 3 W's on that one, not just 2. And then we've got our Discord and our Facebook group, the links of which will be in the description of this show. Please join the Discord. It's such a great time for everybody involved. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it on our episode on 3DS games to get before the heat death of the 3DS, which is incoming. So make sure you pick some of those up. Or pick up Pokemon Picross and go to GBA Tap and figure out what to do from there. Thank you once again, Jordan. That was a blast. We're going to be back next week with an all-new episode. We're talking Switch Sports. Let's say it. We're talking Wii Sports 4 next week. We're going to be having a great time. I'm also doing a show with Rapatika as well on his podcast, also about Switch Sports. So a little bit of a plug there to check out that show as well. Tune in on the Discord. We'll give you all the links whenever this stuff drops. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you guys very much. If you stuck around to the end of the episode, you just got yourself 100 platinum My Nintendo points. Congratulations.
Go to Japan to pick them up.
Go to Japan to pick them up. Make sure you get your
How do you do
passport.
that? How's it work?
Yeah. Here's the levels of friction. All right, folks. We love you guys very much. We'll see you next week. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.
Everyone listening to this who says they're a Nintendo.
Oh, you say you're a Nintendo fan? Well, where were you in 2014, bitch? Where were you? We could have used you.
Oh, wow.
That beautiful thing died for you. All right. Anyway, I'm ready to go whenever you guys are.
I like that character.
Yeah. He
I
sounds
don't know.
like Hulk
I feel like
Hogan.
it's a little Macho Man Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
it's a little-
America,
Yeah.
but like Wii U.
Yeah.
Wii U truther.
You heard of Disney adults? Get ready for Nintendo adults. I go to Nintendo Land 3 times a year, brother. Anyway.
You gotta say brother.
Yeah.
Already?
Yoshi's Ride. That's the best. This is the slowest one. I could just sit there and think for a minute. Anyway.
Is that where you
All right,
need
sorry.
to go,
Yeah.
sir?
I'm ready to go.